Imagine for me, you're walking down the street, it's a Tuesday afternoon, and you see some vampiric teenagers in all black, skinny jeans, studded belts with some spiky hair, and you think to yourself, what are they wearing? Oh my god, disgusting, blah! How did society get here? Well, my hypothetically judgmental little friend, wouldn't you like to know? Now, these kids that you just may or may not have hypothetically just judged could be one of three things I'll be discussing today: punks, emos, or scene kids. And now, don't get me wrong, there are tons of other fashion and music subcultures that these kids could have fit into: alt, or grunge, or goth, or any of those. But I'm focusing on these main three because, well, punk's the root of all of them, and I'm emo. So we're starting in the 1950s, and I know what you're going to say. Oh my god, this isn't funny anymore. Where are the emos? And to that I say, shut up. I'll keep this brief. We start with the beat movement, which you're going to be like, huh? What's a beat movement? What's a beat? Basically, a beat was like a hippie before hippies were a thing, and it was like people who were not able to attain the American dream of the 1950s. Think of like the white picket fence American dream, like honey I'm home type thing. These people couldn't have that. Beats were like the LGBTQ plus community, racial minorities, like religious minorities, just anyone who wasn't white and straight and upper middle class. Beats were like fueled by rock and roll music and Jack Kerouac's book On the Road, which was written in 1951 and was published in 1957, which I know this is a stretch back in history, but it sets up for all the ideologies that punks have. Because Jack Kerouac's book really spoke of self-expression and just finding yourself as a person and being like, hey, I don't have to conform to any of this, which nonconformity is a very important thing to remember, so keep this in mind throughout the video. And now that we have a precursor to the punk ideology that will carry out through the rest of this video, it's the 1960s. Rock and roll is now like at an all-time level of fame for the time. Elvis is getting panties thrown at him by girls in the audience and also effectively making every conservative parent mad. The Vietnam War has been going on for a couple years now. Most of the younger people are getting upset with it and uneasy, and they're starting to speak out. And obviously, like the Beats, they speak out against people who are oppressed, people in the Vietnam War. This is when like the arts like started to get incorporated into punk ideology or like beat ideology, because people started using music and art to convey how they feel. So now we're in the 1970s, and speaking out was so totally in. This came with anti-authoritarian ideologies. I know, vocabulary words. But these ideologies needed something to, like, fuel it a little. As usual, this comes in the form of art, which was a subculture known as punk rock. You see where we're getting at now. Some notable punk artists were the Ramones, the Damned, the Stooges, and the Sex Pistols, which all of them made about the same kind of music, and it was all stuff that like didn't take itself too seriously, but still was serious in its topics. Most punk bands were very anti like selling out or just becoming like pop music, which was also common in the time. That still mostly stands to this day. Another artist who isn't necessarily music related is Vivienne Westwood. Vivienne Westwood's designs for her boutique World's End often consisted of spikes, leather, mix-match patterns, and like hand-sewn, like rough around the edges kind of did match the music style of being like very handmade. And she used her fashion to break gender stereotypes, speak out against social-political issues, until her death in 2022. Wow, what a great thing to transition off of. How happy. I'm so excited. Okay, yeah, you've got me there. That's a sad topic to try and transition off of. However, we are now at the point that you have been waiting for this whole time. Emos! Yay! Yay! So it's 2001. 9/11 just happened. Stay with me now, I'm getting there. And Gerard Way, a man in New Jersey is thinking about making a difference. And so what does he do about it? He makes a band. Huh. Kind of sounds like things people did in the 60s that I brought up earlier. Maybe that information was useful. Hi, I'm editing this right now. I don't know why I didn't mention the name of the band that Gerard Way founded, but it's My Chemical Romance. It started in 2001. Cool. The difference this band makes is huge for a bunch of angsty little teenagers like myself. He makes a genre of music, emo, more popular, and also spreads messages of change, religious ideologies and how that can affect and suppress people, LGBTQ plus struggles, and also just general songs about heartbreak and other emo topics. Also, not to mention, most My Chemical Romance albums are like a little story, which makes it a lot more fun and interesting to listen to than just normal music. To name a couple, it's 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, Black Parade, and Danger Days. Those are also my personal favorite albums by My Chemical Romance, but that's besides the point. Also, a comic based on Danger Days called Killjoys, so I recommend it. Gerard Way is a great artist. I love My Chemical Romance. And also, not to mention the fact that My Chemical Romance put a ginormous spike in the emo kind of genre of music and the subculture as a whole. They inspired bands like Pierce the Veil and also Panic at the Disco. By the way, inspired the story of Twilight, like the romance, the chemical romance. Booyah! But that's totally off topic, and it's just a little fun fact that I know. So, around this time, now that emo is a very popular genre, punk had turned more into a post-punk and post-hardcore emo type genre. And to explain the emo type like music situation, you can listen to punk, emo, or post-hardcore, which is like post-punk and hardcore put together. And some emo bands that I can mention are obviously My Chemical Romance, early 2000s Panic at the Disco, because they kind of became pop later on. Used Pierce the Veil, my personal favorite, and the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. Similar to punk, but can also just straight up be punk bands, because emo can be punk, and punk can sort of sometimes be emo. It's really weird. But also includes screamo, which is like where people like scream at a microphone. It's like heavy music. That basically. Emo fashion typically contains a lot of black. The whole emo bang thing that I kind of have going on, but my hair's kind of a mess right now. We don't discuss. Spiky hair, eyeliner, and band tees. Now, all these bands and fashion got out to teens via MySpace about 2000, 2005, all of that, which turned it into another subculture. There are so many subcultures going on. Oh my God. This subculture was known as scene, or scene kids. And they were like the online version of emos, even though emos were also online. It's like glam rock for rock of like the 80s, but just for emos. And it's very confusing to just, like, the difference between scene and emos if you're not either a scene or an emo kid. They get confused a lot, and a lot of people are like, don't get these two mixed up. People get very mad about it. Personally, I don't care if you get it mixed up. It's confusing. But I'll tell you the difference. Like, scene fashion and music relies on more electronic dance music and rave-type fashion and music styles of the 2000s, mixed with the obvious emo and other punk sort of influence on it. Some scene bands, even though there isn't really any strictly scene bands or music, is Falling in Reverse, another band I love, Mayday Parade, Attack Attack, Asking Alexandra, Breathe Carolina, and The Millionaires. Which, by the way, The Millionaires and some of these other bands, like Broken Side, another scene band, have more explicit type lyrics, and it's just kind of like the corny 2000s pop music mixed in with emo stuff and electronic dance music, basically. Style, like the fashion, was bright colors, the spiky hair, and the emo bangs, animal print, spikes, studded belts, stripes, and band or like character tees. Like it could have like Hello Kitty or like a Invader Zim t-shirt. And that's like the only difference between scene and emo is just one has slightly more color and like has more electronic sounding music. But that's about it. So now that we know what these subcultures are and what they pertain to, we can understand that these are very important to people. Not only is the music talking about social issues that need to be fixed and can fuel certain like movements, it can also be a very personal thing that includes self-expression within it. For example, a song I really like by Pierce the Veil, my favorite band, is Hold On Till May. And it's basically a song for the fans where they tell the fans who struggle with issues like mentally or just are feeling down that they'll be okay. And really, that's what I like about it. It's personally just a thing where the music can help someone get up the next day and just like be like, all right, I'll be okay. I got this. And also just self-expression and speaking out against other things. So that's always a good thing. So yeah, music and subcultures and fashion are very important to speaking out against things. And I hope that from this video, maybe that people will see that they can continue on and just, be themselves. That's the big takeaway from all this. Being yourself is important as long as you're not harming others. So, yay! And that's all I gotta say. So, yeah. Bye bye!